Hey everyone, welcome to Teachers Love EduPD live webinars for teachers only. Today we're talking about neurolanguage coaching with incredible and amazing Rachel Paling. And before I invite Rachel, please do share from which part of the world you're tuning from and what is your teaching role. I'm super excited to invite amazing Rachel Paling right now. Hello Rachel, how are you? Oh, please unmute yourself. Okay. The sound is. Oh, yeah, it works. Yee. Now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me, and delighted to be here.
Rachel, I hope the connection is okay on our side. Please do use the live chat and share from which part of the world you're tuning from. Can you hear us well? Can you see us well? And if you're watching us on LinkedIn and Facebook, please do join. On YouTube, I've attached the links to every post where I have made it. And on YouTube is more interactive. You can ask, and don't hesitate, ask Rachel the questions and drop them in the Q&A box on YouTube. Rachel, as I introduce you, you're an incredibly inspiring person. And when I reach you out, I've seen this book. You know, I bought it. I got it. I started to read it, and I said like, wow, this is something incredible. And when I reached you out, I couldn't even imagine how amazing and incredible person you are, with all of the background. And you know, when I was looking and scrolling through your biography, could you introduce yourself, please? Because there are so many titles and so many hats they're wearing, and such a great experience and background of yours. Could you introduce yourself for our beautiful viewers, who you are and what you do in education?
Oh, Hannah, thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right. I've had a journey which has been twisting and turning through life, and many hats along the way. I think the most constant hat has always been language teaching.
Wow.
And that's something I actually started at the age of 17. So many moons ago, I moved to Spain when I was 17 and started teaching English.
Oh my gosh.
And teaching English to adults, discovering my own language, discovering what it was to live in another country and to experience the culture. And from those, I'm going to say 12 years living in Spain at that time, I was mostly speaking Spanish, hardly speaking any English. I'd already done French at school, and Latin and Greek, and then moving into Spanish, living in Catalonia. I was exposed to Catalan.
Oh my.
So languages started to form part of my life without me even realizing it, and language teaching became the basis of my life without me even realizing it. And then many other things happened along the way. I actually did a parenthesis to do law, because I strongly believed in law and human rights. So I went through a BA law with Spanish. I'd also studied in Spain as well. And
oh my God.
The career of law actually also throughout my university years, I was still teaching to help me to pay for the way. And when I did a master's in Germany in the year 2000, I did a master's in human rights. And that's when
I'm so sorry for interrupting, but just a regular person, it takes like 4 lives to take that many educational experiences. Like, as you mentioned, I watched one of your interviews, you mentioned that everyone is a lifelong learner. And this is what you provide, this evidence.
Absolutely. And the question though, Anna, is it ever enough? And, you know, I think for some people it's never enough.
Yes.
And yes, you're right. I did a master's in human rights, master's in applied neuroscience later, master's in neuropsychology and neuroeducation. But I'm pretty sure, and I'm definitely going to be going on to do more things over the next years. So still more to come with the academia, even though I've done 10 years already.
You mentioned at the very beginning of your book that you are not a neuroscientist, But here I would love to highlight, because one of your educations, as you mentioned, is what we've mentioned, where is it? Human rights, yes, UK applied neuroscience and PCCICF. Oh my God, but for me, I think that teachers have got the more amounts of time to access, to students' brain than regular scientists.
Yeah.
And this, what do you think about this?
Definitely one of the major questions for all of us is, how do we get the neuroscience into an implemented form?
Yes.
Because when I started all of this 12 years ago, back in 2012, when I started to crystallize neurolanguage coaching as a concept, as something that is different, there are a lot of people that don't understand what neurolanguage coaching is. There's a lot of misunderstandings. So first I want to say it's not NLP. It has nothing to do with NLP. I've never done any NLP training or exams or anything in my life, so I have no idea even. I have no idea even how to explain NLP. So the misconception here is, we are living in a world where education has always been about learning, but it's only now that we're paying attention to the brain and how the brain functions, learns, and reacts. And that's gratefully because of all the research over the last 50 years. We started to, in the 1970s, have the technology. And more we're getting the technology to understand more about the brain and how we learn. So we've got the body of science of learning, we've got all the research, but the question is, how do we now implement the research into practical terms? And this is what we are doing. I mean, we've been doing this for 12 years. And now there are many courses about neuroscience. There are many people speaking about, this is how the brain learns, this is how it functions, but actually living it and integrating that research into what we do. And making sure that all the processes that we follow what we know from the research. That's the point that we're coming to now. And that's what we are doing in neurolanguage coaching. Definitely.
This is so fascinating. And about brain, I will ask you more questions for sure, because I think it's something incredible, amazing, again, something that we don't understand till the end, but still you provided some incredible ideas about brain that I felt it as a teacher, so because it's flexible, and it's like spoiler. Yes, and this idea is so inspiring because it's limitless. Okay, before we are going to talk about brain, and I would love to ask you the question, since we're talking about education a lot and you've got that great experience of your own, since I'm so passionate about inclusivity and accessibility in education, I think it's something that we need to learn more and provide more to our learners for sure. What is inclusive education? What does it mean to you?
Well, definitely for me, it's that question that we are all different. And how can we bring education to everybody? And nowadays, we have the term neurodiversity. And I think it's a term that we need to take very seriously, in the sense that each and every one of us, we are unique. And we've had educational systems which have pushed us into boxes for centuries. And now we're discovering that children of today, learners of today, even adults of today, we're not fitting in the boxes anymore. So we need to find ways to, as educators, adapt to each and every learner or group of learners that we have in front of us. And for me, that means inclusive education for everybody, not only spectrum, but all of us. We are all different.
And
so
you
yes,
said in the book that every brain is different. There's no alike brain in the world.
Well, if we look at sort of the functions, the basic functions, etc., yes, of course, we have a generic sort of pattern of how we are physically created. But when we look at actually the makeup of the brain, and we look at the genetic makeup, we think about what each and every one of us has learned, that's where we have the uniqueness. And that uniqueness actually transforms into how each and every one of us perceives the world. And not only perceives the world, but also receive information, process information, and interpret information. And potentially that is something that we all do differently.
This is amazing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Provide such a great amount of inspiration. And I would love to start sharing from you, or sharing more with this quote. This is on your website. Today we're sharing, as always, with Wakefield Resource Collection, where you can find lots of materials, very useful ones. And there is a great website of Rachel where you can find lots of great resources again. And you can take courses, right, Rachel? So you are the developer of courses, and you can find even free ebooks. And since Rachel is the author of So Far So Good, how many books?
Actually, it's 4 books, because I wrote I wrote a children's storybook before and that was published by mistake, because I was testing out self-publishing, and suddenly it was published. And it's called Just a Benicia. Yes, and it was it is a children's book, but relating to neurolanguage coaching, there are 3 books. Yes.
And so this quote you will find just when you start investigating, looking through the website, Rachel. Life is a journey, and if you fall in love with the journey, you will be in love forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what it's like about lifelong learning, right?
It is. I think we all have this sort of anxiety to have a destination. And actually, the question is, how can we enjoy the journey to get to the destination? Because, what is the destination? And the destination is going to change every time. So when and I think it really relates to when you find something that you're passionate about, you don't feel like you're working, you don't feel like you're toiling, I could spend 15 hours a day just coming into my work and really coming in. And I see we've got one of my greatest friends on earth, Mr. Ron Moraine, is with us. And Ron, I'd love you to give your comments in the chat box, because I'd love to understand what you think I base my work on. Because I've spent hours and hours and hours researching, with all the research which is cited, quoted. I did the master's in applied neuroscience. I got published. I'd love you to just engage, Ron, and just share with us what you think I base my work on when you say it's a word salad.
Oh my. Okay. So, Rachel, there's a question. I've got lots of questions. I'm super inspired about your work, and and I'm going to get more books, because what you share is very close to my heart, being a teacher. And I just fascinated about the word brain itself. And also, we can start from this question from the very beginning, I think. So what is neurolanguage coaching is all about? And then we're gonna
And by the way, Ron actually is also a language coach, and he also created language coaching. So he's also a fellow coach in the world, and I know he's a great academic, a great contributor to the teachers' world. So Ron, great that you're here. When I started neurolanguage coaching in 12 years ago, for me, it was that question of, how do we crystallize something into a concept? Because language coaching is very generic. And many, many people are doing language coaching, and they have their own definition of it. And everything is perfect. Everybody can do what they want to do. There is nothing to stop anybody in the world calling themselves a coach. For me, it was more about, how do I become a certified an accredited coach, and that's what I did with my training as a brain-based coach with the International Coach Federation, and that's when I went into becoming an ACC, then a PCC, and really taking on that training as a professional coach. And the International Coach Federation is one of the worldwide recognized bodies which sets out the standards, the guidelines, the ethics for the coaching profession. And all of my programs are accredited by the International Coach Federation. So that for me was very important to integrate, and we integrate all of the competences, the skills, the development and the training from the coaching world into everything that we do as a teacher. And that means we change the way we communicate. We use the coaching conversations for troubleshooting, for helping, for all different types of things. We bring out that coaching conversation. And we even help going beyond emotional triggers, going into helping somebody to learn how to learn, going into explaining about maybe how to enhance the learning process. But for me, the most important thing is how to bring coaching conversations into grammar conversations. So that actually grammar becomes very, very, I'm going to say, calm for the learners. And we are able to take grammar in a step-by-step, cool, calm conversation. And Ron, thank you. I do not mix life coaching with language coaching, and great that you're bringing this up, because a lot of people think that language coaching is mixed up with, well, neurolanguage coaching is mixed up with life coaching. It's not. I always say life coaching is everything to do with somebody's personal life, their, let's say their goals on a personal level, business level, executive level. Language coaching is everything to do with how to enhance, improve, and learn a language. Ron, thank you for that. So what we do...
Rachel, you're so kind. I admire you a lot.
He's bringing this up because it helps me to help clarify exactly what it is and what it isn't. And this is why people are so confused when people don't understand what neurolanguage coaching is really about. So Ron, thank you for this opportunity. So coming back to neurolanguage coaching, we do not go into life coaching conversations. We have conversations about the learning process, about the language learning process. If there are emotional triggers and blocks relating to language learning only, we do not go into anything to do with business, personal, whatever, outside of language. So Anna, that's the coaching side. From the neuroscience, we bring in the neuroscience in 3 different ways. Firstly, we talk to our learners about the brain. We really open up that space.
Oh, I love this part.
And
absolutely.
Honestly, I wish when I was a child, when I was learning, when I'd gone through all the way through life, I wish I had understood more about what's happening to me, and especially at school, when you're in that learning process and you don't understand something and you go into that shutdown, how can somebody help a learner that's going into that fight or flight? So we open up that space when we need to. So we don't go into sermons explaining about the brain. We literally, if the moment arises, imagine I've got a learner who says, I'm too old to learn.
Yes, of course. Yes,
right.
The adult learners, they always say that. Always.
Absolutely. Mature adults, let's say.
Yes, much better.
Then I would say to my learner, I would say, may we talk a little bit about this? Could we just explore this a moment? Because, neuroplasticity, actually, we have the proof, the research demonstrating that we can learn throughout life. We can change the brain structurally and functionally up until the day we die. We have research demonstrating that actually we make neural connections up until the day we die. So talking to a learner...
My sticky note is about this neuroplasticity.
So we bring in the neuroscience. Number one, we talk about the brain when we need to, the science of learning, how the brain functions. We really go into those mini conversations. And we do that with little kiddies, teenagers, adults. And we make sure that we can really explain it in lay terms and talk to somebody on their level. So we're not trying to be hardcore academics. We don't want our little children to come out being neuroscientists with neuroscientific vocabulary, but we really want them to be able to understand and manage themselves. Secondly, we go into integrating the findings of the research into the process. So, for example, chunking things down. We know from the research that the brain, when we have that enormous sort of spread of information to learn, that is actually arousing uncertainty. So the more that we can bring certainty to the brain, the more that we can break things down. And we do that in everything that we do in neurolanguage. We learn how to really go into a specific and more specific and more specific breakdown of
Can I highlight this when you said you either learn to tame it, take the reins and control it, or it will constantly gallop along out of control with you. It's, this.
Yes, we're helping our learners.
I've got so many of them.
Absolutely, we're really helping learners to manage themselves. How I wish I'd have had that when I was a kid. And if we can bring this to children worldwide, Anna, what a different world we're going to create. Really. So secondly, we're integrating the neuroscience, we're bringing in the findings from the research, and everything that we do in neurolanguage coaching has a reason. Thirdly, we're really going into that learner autonomy. How can we get them to go into the ownership of the learning, get them sitting in the driver's seat? This is their process, and it's about them learning how to learn. And in fact, there's a study from 2019 which talks about the effect or the effectiveness of metacognition, teaching metacognition in schools. And this research demonstrates that there are three major impacts when we do bring this metacognition to our learners. Firstly, it impacts their performance. Secondly, it really impacts their results. And thirdly, it has an impact on their motivation. And that's a good word. We're discovering this from the neurolanguage coaches all across the world who are with clients. And when they start talking about the brain, when they really come into this process of learning about themselves, understanding about themselves, they are having amazing breakthroughs. They really are. So yes, fantastic.
Can I do this right now with you? Okay, you were a hidden gem to me. Okay, I'm going to mention this.
And Anna, can I just repeat so that this is public and I can say this to Ron as well?
Sure.
There is nothing in my work to do with NLP. I have never done NLP in my life. I have no idea what it is. I've never done any studies of it. So there is nothing in my work based on NLP. It's all coming from pure research, which is then the findings are integrated into everything that we do. And there are millions of teachers now doing this across the world. It's not only me, there are millions of people, teachers, trainers, educators, talking about the research, talking about the brain, talking about the science of learning, giving lectures, giving conferences, and actually introducing it into their teaching. It's brilliant. Anna, we're starting to understand more and more and more how to integrate this into the classroom. And it's not only me. There are many people doing it across the world.
Yes, because you have such a great background and teaching again. So it's not only about, if you would say, yeah, I took these courses, I've got this degree, but you have a teaching background. Since I trust you like 100%. It's something that echoing in my heart, that whatever you said so far.
And I used to live very near to Ron. So Ron used to be one of my neighbors in that neck of the woods. And in the year 2000, when I was actually in Germany doing the master's degree, I was full-time in a corporate language school. And from there, I was literally every single day, day in, day out, coming into companies, working with top executives, lawyers, etc. And I was working with these people for 15 years, and I was integrating the coaching I was learning, testing things out. And I always remember people saying, Rachel, you're so different. But I never knew what that meant. What am I doing that's different? What am I demonstrating? What am I?
love your dog.
How can I demonstrate it? How can I crystallize this? And that was the quest for me, to really crystallize something. And just to add, neurolanguage coaching is about sitting with the learner or learners and finding out what and how they want to do it. And the how may include many different things.
Oh yes, yes.
Oh.
Sounds great.
¿Sabes que le hablo en español, Ana?
Sí, sí.
Y hablo en español con el perro porque es español. Entonces me parece que quiere salir. Entonces
me gusta tu pronunciación mucho.
Tengo que abrirle la puerta un poquito porque me parece que quiere salir.
Oh, Dios mío.
Sí, sí.
Spanish. I love it.
He's only 10 months old, by the way.
Honestly, this is not a joke. It's
yes. Yeah. 1 minute. I'm just going to open the door for him. Let me
sure.
Here so I can open the door. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to continue.
Sure.
1 second.
Oh my God. So please don't forget to grab your highlights and use these handles of Rachel and mine, and use the hashtag Teachers Love You Do and post them on socials, whatever. I don't know what you're using these days. Like, is it Instagram? It's amazing. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, should I say? I'm stick to Twitter these days anyway. So, and you covered the neuroplasticity. Oh my gosh, I made it. I just want to highlight this phrase because I love it so much from your book. Is that it's the ability of the brain and nervous system to change structurally and functionally in response to its experience. This is so inspiring to me because this is another question of mine. How would you describe a brain in one word? There's one word for 2024, 2023. It's always like one word for a brain. Like what comes to your mind first? Like, because to me it's universe, because it's limitless. Like universe, it's beautiful, it's mysterious somehow. But like,
if you're limiting me to one word, my word would be brilliance.
Oh, I love it.
And I really don't think that we understand how brilliant each and every one of us are. And that's also a journey of self-discovery. And I think the more that I've discovered myself and how to manage my brain, my mind, the more that I've come into that, the calmer and more peaceful I've become.
Wow. I just want to say this. Yes. Oh, there are so many highlights I'd love to say about, but again, about brain. Still, I'm stick to that point. So, what are some amazing facts that you can share about brain? Like, we also covered the neuroplasticity, but like, what are the most amazing facts to you since you've been learning about brain? So, for how many years you mentioned? Like, since you were 17, right? So you started your journey.
I was 17 when I moved to Spain, yes. And I was 5 years teaching in an adult learning center. And then through the years, I was on and off teaching, and especially through my studies. And then in the year 2000, that's when I started full-time while I was studying for the MA. And then in 2003, I came back to full-time teaching and training, yes. And you were asking me what neuroplasticity is?
I highlighted the phrase that I love so much from your book. And I believe that one of the major breakthroughs we had with regard to the past neuro myths about the brain is the realization that the brain is in fact plastic and not static, meaning that the brain can remodel and remap its connections.
Absolutely. And the reason I think it's very important to understand this is I grew up, Anna, I mean, I'm a lot older than you are. And I
It's
grew
not that
up
obvious, I
really,
should say.
really thinking that, you know, this is what you've got and that's it for life. 1 second while I speak to my adolescent. Arthur, no, no. Estoy aquí en la entrevista. Ven aquí. No,
So
después.
active. It's just a puppy.
Ven aquí. Ven aquí. No, no se sale ahora. So I grew up really thinking this is it for life, you know. And I think it's so important that we are bringing this message to children that that's not the case. You know, you can really go into lifelong learning. You can learn many professions through life. You're limitless. And that's a very key message, that we need to live, not only regurgitate as theory. We need to be saying every day, what am I doing that's new? How am I remodeling my brain? How am I remapping? How am I developing, you know, through life? It's a continuous journey. Anna, let me just respond to Ron. So Ron, thank you
Oh
for
my
your...
gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yes. Ron, you're absolutely right. There is no general consensus as to what language coaching really is. There are many different ways of defining and describing language coaching, and they're all beautiful and valid. My concept is my concept, and it's called Neurolanguage Coaching, and it's a concept, it's a name, it's different because there are certain things in there which are totally different, like mechanical goals, mastery goals, the way that we go into brain-friendly grammar. But that's my take, and it's no better than anybody else's. It's just the way that I've created it and packaged it, and everybody is welcome to create their own package and definition.
Yes, I understand what you mean.
And people are, you know, there are many definitions of language coaching. By the way, there are many definitions of life coaching out there, and they're all fantastic. They're beautiful.
Why not? I don't see it's personal experience of yours that you bring, and if there is one definition, why there can be like another one that's for with your personal experience. Yes.
And they're all brilliant. It could be pure life coaching or pure language coaching, or it could be
I love them all.
Coaching. It could be that way of doing it. You know, it's a name. It's a name that has certain things that are different, and that's the reason that, you know, we have it as a concept. But there are many other language coaches out there, and the description of what a language coaching does for their clients. Ron, I think I can't speak for generic language coaching because that's something that everybody can describe. So my description of neurolanguage coaching for the client is actually really creating the roadmap, but the client is actually bringing in the content. And it's us as a neurolanguage coach, we are sitting there with our learners to find out motivation, mechanical goals, mastery goals. We get them to choose their way forward. We get them to choose their actions. And then we get the roadmap, the time period, and then we are with them in that process with calm coaching conversations, coming into the metacognition, coming into the neuroscience when we need to, and we really are accompanying them on that journey to achieve the goals. Now, that can be very similar to any language coach, maybe, but we have certain things that are, I'm going to say, unique to us. Definitely. And Ron, I know that you have your definition of language coaching, and I know that other people have their definition of language coaching, and they're all fantastic. They're all beautiful. And
but today we're talking about you, Rachel, because you did such a great, and I love your book.
No, we're talking about me and Arthur. Arthur is a 10-month-old adolescent who is a little bit impatient. So my apologies for the barking, everybody.
We love pets, you know. It's always cats and dogs and badges. You know, we Amanda Picard, she had amazing badges. And what I would love to ask you the next. It's since we're talking about brains still, and that was a definition of what performing brain, which sparked me as well.
Ooh.
Please share with that. I've got my highlights from the book, but
Yeah,
a
you know,
separate-
I'm very much in love with this because it actually originates from a book from the 1970s called The Inner Game of Tennis, and it was written by a tennis coach called Timothy Galway. And I have to say, Mr. Galway was brilliant because he was really before his time, as I think Krashen was before his time. His
You mentioned
whole
him.
book is talking about the thinking brain, which nowadays we can transform into prefrontal cortex, executive functions, and performing brain, which we can really say is the subconscious brain.
Wow.
And, you know, let's take driving a car, and many people take this learning journey curve, driving the car. When you're learning to drive, when you're in that stage of thinking about everything, the clutch, the gear, the wheel, the pedestrian, oh my God, you're in the thinking brain. When you then drive more and more and more, and it becomes automatic, it then goes into the performing brain. And literally, you're driving the car from that subconscious brain. Maybe you're thinking about the next meeting you're going to, the next client, the whatever, and you're not, I'm going to say, fully conscious. If it's snowing or icy or something like that, then maybe you engage your prefrontal cortex to get more concentration. But normally we're driving the car from that subconscious. Yes. And when you think about language speaking, I think each and every one of us know that moment when you're trying to translate everything.
Yes.
And that's when you're very heavily in this prefrontal cortex, thinking brain, working memory, going over time. And when you get fluent, you just literally speak without thinking. And that's when you go into that performing brain.
It was such a good phrase of yours.
I love this topic.
I love it. This energy flows where attention goes, but it's about focus. And you highlight this word a lot. That I these days I always say that to my students. Please focus. Now, when start to like lose their attention or something, I say that this is our hour, so we're going to dive deeper. So I need from you only one thing. This is your focus and attention. And in this, your book actually inspired me to say it out loud, like this, and this, with these words, certain words.
May I suggest, Anna?
Yeah, please do.
That maybe a more gentle way of saying it could be, may I check in with you, and how could we get you with more focus and attention at this point? Ooh, so that you give it to them to then start to understand what do they need at that moment in time. It's brilliant. And that way, we're not giving commands, we're not giving, we're not telling them what to do. We really are opening up that question for them. Definitely.
So beautiful what you've shared. So, and about the book, of course, we're going to talk a lot about your book, a beautiful book. I've already shared with the Wakelet Resource Collection. You can find it in our live chat on YouTube. So you may learn more about incredible work of Rachel. And there is a great website, as I mentioned, where you can find lots of great resources. I wish I could see it before, but I've just discovered it. And I feel so grateful, Rachel, for all of your work. And this phrase, again, this is like of yours, if I'm not mistaken. It's not from Mahatma Gandhi or that I'm going to mention as well. I believe that a deeper comprehension will lead to humanity communicating together in a totally different way and developing new ways of living and moving forward through that 21st century. Yeah. And you started this with a self-introduction with this phrase. Could you highlight this, please? Just.
One of the interesting things is I think we live in a world where people are very reactive, Anna. People are very judgmental.
Oh, yes.
they many times they condemn without understanding. what something is about, and they react. And this is why I think that if we come into a deeper comprehension of each other and we stop reacting and we start listening more, we start asking people more. If we don't agree with somebody, there's no need to attack.
In a public way, especially, I totally agree. Yeah, that's
we
weird.
all have different opinions, different perspectives, but on a human level, how can we really tolerate and respect each other? And I think when we come into that deeper comprehension of communication, of actually saying, well, fantastic, this is your understanding, this is my understanding, we don't agree, and that's fine, because in this world, we are living in a world of neurodiversity and neurodiverse everything. And there, if we can communicate that in a very gentle way, without attacking and without being nasty and without throwing social media comments that are hurtful, then definitely we're going to have a better world out there. It starts with us, doesn't it?
Of course, I totally agree with you.
Does. And I love that. Dr. Harris, thank you. The smartest
Hello, Michael.
in the room listens. Yes. And if we can really, I mean, listen on a deeper level. Yes. And listen and not comment, and listen and reformulate and say, well, oh, am I hearing this? And oh, is this what you're saying? And can I just check with you? Is this what you mean? And then may I share with you my observations? And coming into a very gentle way of communication, that for me is the reason for that quote, that if we really, all of us learn, I'm a great lover of also non-violent communication. And I recommend everybody to have a look at it, discover it, go deeper into it, and really, again, we come into this, how do we walk the talk? How do we do what we say that we're doing? Instead of saying, yes, I listen, but then we don't demonstrate it. Or yes, I understand, but then I don't demonstrate that I understand. Or yes, I tolerate, but I don't demonstrate that I tolerate. And I think this is the challenge for each and every one of us, to actually walk the talk nowadays and be genuine and really do what we say that we're doing. And that's where I think when more and more and more of us are doing that, and when we're helping children, adults, teenagers to come into that space, that's when we're going to have, we're going to have that greater, deeper understanding of each other.
Beautiful words, and I can't wait to clapping to do this one again. It's just yesterday I was invited to a classroom from Brazil, and they were talking a lot about kindness. So I'm still under the that they put on me, and that's what you're saying is again echoing so much to my heart.
Anna, Harvard is studying mindfulness, meditation, gratitude. We've got whole studies on how gratitude, compassion, mindfulness, and meditation change the brain. And
Rachel, sorry for interrupting. You just highlight from the book again of yours. There are great advances regarding the introduction of emotional intelligence in schools, as well as the belief of new practices such as the introduction of meditation for children. And you highlighted this. So I think this is so powerful. And if you are not into meditation, just start, the investigation and research process, because it really does work for the brain in a very good way.
It does. And some years ago, I remember seeing, I believe it was Panorama on the BBC. And they were showing a documentary of some schools in England already 5, 6, 7 years ago had introduced meditation with little kiddies. And I mean little kiddies of 3, 4, 5 years old. And they were documenting it, and they were talking to the children, talking to the teachers, demonstrating what they were doing. And it was brilliant. And one of the little girls actually shared that, when she sees mummy stressed at home, she actually goes to her and says, "Mummy, you need to go and meditate."
Oh, this is so sweet.
Telling mummy to go and meditate. It's like the most beautiful thing you can imagine.
Practical
yes,
suggestion from a child to help, to
wow.
support. Yeah, that's
Wow. Wow. And again, this is the importance of helping little kids, teenagers, even adults to manage themselves. And how I wish I'd have had this when I was a child.
and there are so many variations of calming rooms. I think it's more popular in schools in America. I know I've heard
Yeah.
about them. You can create them on Wakelet as well. This is again super inspiring to me. And another highlight, additionally, teachers are overloaded with administration and bureaucracy and tend to have less and less time for the more human side of teaching. That is the necessary human contact and deeper empathetic connection with the learner.
Yeah.
This is again, wow.
Yeah.
So true. So true.
And definitely, Anna, there are many, many schools nowadays worldwide that are starting to come into more and more of these practices. And more teachers who are coming sensitized, emotionally intelligent, understanding the neuroscience, and also changing the way that they communicate. And I think after the pandemic, we've got lots of research now demonstrating the impact of the pandemic on children and teenage brains. And it has been pretty devastating. And now it's how we move forward to help these kids with their lives and to help them move forwards. A lot of children unable to express themselves. A lot of children, a lot of aggression in schools nowadays. I've heard from teachers all over the world that there's a lot of pent up, those feelings. And how do we as educators understand how to help them and understand not only how to help them, but also teacher well-being? This is a great topic as well nowadays, because teachers as well went through the pandemic, suffered a lot, plus they've come back into the classroom with horrendous workloads, horrendous situations. So yes, how do we help in those situations? And all of this knowledge is going to help that.
So inspiring. I just, since we're talking about the era of the neuroeducator, and my question is, what does it mean for teachers who've been teaching in education for 10, 20 years, so far so good? What qualities and requirements do they need to feel that they're completely fit into this era? Can you suggest anything? Is it a statement that this era is here and it's something that we can't fix and nothing will be the same again? Is it what it is?
It's interesting because actually in the 1990s, that's when neuroeducation came out as a concept by the Dana Foundation. They were the ones that founded the concept, and literally they talk about the integration of psychology, neuroscience, emotional intelligence into the classroom. So the Dana Foundation are the ones that created this concept. And by the way, the Dana Foundation have a conference every year, the Brain Conference. So, it really is for educators to come into this topic more and more. Now, I know that in 2015, 2016, there was a study in the US with teachers to check in how many of them felt that they were neuroeducators and how many of them were integrating the neuroscience into the classroom. And many of them said that they were not. And when they were asked the reason, they explained that they were frightened to do that. So personally, I think now what we really need is more and more training for teachers to feel comfortable with this, because this is not about literally regurgitating the neuroscience. This is about helping learners to understand and manage their learning processes. And to do that, we have to understand it first too, but we also have to integrate it into the learning process. So I think it's about more and more training, and more training is happening all over the world. So yes, I think we are naturally coming into this era, naturally. And at the same time, I think we need to, because we need to combat the AI and the technology that is coming in. So we need to step up on our knowledge of humans, and we need to also be able to integrate and complement the learning with the AI, with the technology, because it's not going away. So it's about how do we walk side by side with both. But that means teachers, trainers, educators worldwide really need to step up with their knowledge. And they are doing. They are doing.
And before I ask you the question about how to become a neurolanguage coach, I just want to highlight this comment from Dr. Michael Harvey. So he's sharing that he finds that in teaching boys, the only emotion that they have is anger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it?
Well,
So
let me say, Dr. Harvest, thank you for that. I actually think it could be that there is also a lot of anger in girls as well. I think there could be that sort of anger and aggression in both sexes. Yeah. One thing years ago, I always remember, I come from an area in England which is called Nottingham. But one of the universities I went to was actually University of Sheffield. And I remember years ago, there was a part of Sheffield where they had problem kids. Mm-hmm. A lot of aggression, a lot of street fighting, a lot of public disturbances with teenagers. And what they actually did, they opened a boxing center for these kids. And the kids could go and learn how to box sacks, box training, etc.
Sports. Okay.
Well, no, boxing. So punching with box sacks and really getting rid of that aggression in the boxing center. And what they noticed in that district was the level of aggression publicly went down. And the level of aggression in schools went down. So again, I think it's how do we help kids manage this anger? And that is I think the question for all schools, how do we help kids to channel that energy in a way that they're going to be able to process it? So it could be that sort of question for, finding out, and even recommending to kids. I recommend to little girls to try this, because honestly, it really helps to channel and focus energy that's accumulated into anger or aggression.
Wow, that's a good advice.
But apart from that, I know that I think it's a very difficult period of time that we're living in. For teachers and for children. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for covering the question. And there is another one: how to become a neurolanguage coach? Because you are the developer, the author of so many great courses. And I shared with the Wakefield Resource Collection, so the links to your website, because I've added some where people can look the books or, just a couple of them. And your personal suggestion, how to, from where to start and where to go, what to do.
Yeah. Well, honestly, if people want to have a taster, we do have a free e-course. So they can try out the free e-course, they can dip their toes in. Actually, I call it Teachers Habits. And on the e-course, we go through that sort of way that we're communicating, way that we're then changing how we communicate to get more of an impact with the learners. So that could be a taster. Mm-hmm. And definitely, if they want to take the jump, we have the first course, which is the ELC Language Coaching Certification course. And this is a 36-hour course, which is broken into 3 different parts. We have the coaching part first to get the coaching communication. Then we have the neuroscience, and then we have the neurolanguage coaching process. And then right at the end, we have the brain-friendly grammar, which is part of that process as well. And that particular course is accredited by the International Coach Federation. It carries a UK accreditation as well from the Continuous Professional Development for Teachers, and certified by ELC. And with pleasure, anybody interested can go onto the website. We have various ways to come in. They could look at neurolanguagecoaching.com. They could look at neurohearteducation.com, or they could even go into the lk.academy.com. So we have an academy where we have all of our courses now. So yes, people could, or they can just drop me a line, info@ or rachel@efficientlanguagecoaching.com.
Yeah, and there's a comment from Dr. Michael Harvey. So for my most aggressive student, I did recommend it. I recommend boxing, and he's doing very well now. You see, that was very great practical advice for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Dr. Harvey's, I'm so glad that you've got that proof, because I've seen it in kids as well, but I've also seen it in myself, if I can share.
Yeah, of course, please do.
Yes, absolutely.
This helps.
By the way, Anna, just to share that, to do this course to become a neurolanguage coach, it is only for people who are teachers already. So my course doesn't teach people how to teach languages. They should already be a language teacher, trainer, educator, specialist in languages, because the course actually helps them to change the way that they communicate and the way that they deliver their teaching, training, education.
So they should be aware of the definitions like target language and all of these things.
Well, they are we only accept fully qualified language teachers, or people who can demonstrate that they have had language teaching experience from at least 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Wow. And so all the links again to the website where you can find and learn more about the courses, the books, and you can find in Wakelet Resource Collection. The link is in our live chat box on YouTube. If you have a book of Rachel Haley, like this one, I'm going to highlight some more and add some more facts about how I love this book. Please do grab selfies like this, or just grab a selfie of the book and post on what you have learned today, your highlights. We want to learn more about, to see your learning experience from this session. Oh, very much. And just I want to say that when I just seen this title, I said, whoa, I want to have this book. And since I'm a very visual person, as many of us these days, so I love this cover. So I fell in love with the cover.
Thank you. Do you know, I'm going to tell, it's actually Gary who created and designed that cover. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I just love the shape of the brain, this and everything that is here. This one, this everything everywhere in my YouTube channel. The thumbnails contain this one idea, Bob, and this is absolutely great. And the language and the words that you use, I think it's like neurolanguage. And many people, they think that is super something scientific, or it's something very difficult to understand. But you made it very easy, and like bestseller. Bestsellers, they're very easy to understand for everyone. So this book is for everyone. I personally loved it, so I highly recommend it. And all of this, again, as you mentioned, for teachers who are teaching these days, because this is super with great practical advice that you can find. So here in this book.
Thank you.
I think it's time to finish. I want to finish with this phrase. Your book, Rachel, starts with this phrase, a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. This is the second thing. When I saw it, so I made this review. Since I'm still reading, I'm using highlights and pencils because I'm a fast reader and I need to, keep concentrating, and because I want to learn it better, on the deeper level. Yeah. So live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. This is like, what did you mean? Sorry for interrupting you. But I love this one.
Well, my question is, and I think for everybody, it really is true. Because if we don't live now fully, now is all that we've got.
Yes.
So this is, we're so good at planning and organizing and thinking about what if and this and that. What about now? What am I doing now to fulfill my greatest potential or to enjoy myself in life? Or, it is, and we come back to what we said earlier. It's the journey.
Yeah,
it's not the destination. Somebody last year, it was interesting because I was at the IATEFL conference, and there was a brilliant session by a gentleman called Duncan Ford, and I was sitting next to lady, and Duncan was questioning, what is success, and that we should discuss for each other. And for me, success, I don't have a definition of success. I don't think that I'm successful. I want to think that, well, just waking up in the morning is beautiful.
Wow.
Just waking up and saying, it's a beautiful day, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and I'm happy. And for me, that's really the question. How can we do that every single day, that we wake up every morning, we're happy, we're content, we're not hurting anybody out there, we're doing what we need to do, and we're loving life, and we're just putting out there with all of our heart as much as we can to try to help others and to help the world as it is today. So yes, learn as if we're to live forever is also, as you opened up, lifelong learning.
This is so beautiful. And yes, I think that's it's time to say goodbye to everyone. But anyway, we would love to see your highlights, so don't forget to post them on socials, or you can reach out, Rachel. You mentioned that you don't feel that you're successful. When we met, you were so nice, and you are still so nice. You're an amazing person. But when I started to do this research about you, I was thinking, oh my gosh, so you are so grounded person in a very good way, and such a good-hearted person and really nice one. So I want to wish you to stay on your, so what you do is so precious, and don't even pay attention to anyone who wants to distract your space, because it can be done in a very different ways, you said. So of course, and it means, I think, as I read it recently, so that it means that you do something good, really good. That's when the outcomes, of course. And I'm not saying anyone that is a devil or something. No. It means just the saying and the points of this idea from the book that I love as well. And that means that you do something precious, and you've discovered, you've done, you found this courage and strength to highlight yourself, and you highlight not only yourself, the ideas that can help support teachers, first things first. And again, from your book, it said that this is a book for teachers and learners. It's usually, teachers' book, students' book. They're so separated. They're so different. But am I right that you can? This book is good for students as well, so they can learn.
Absolutely. I've had language learners reading the book as well, and it gives insights into language learning. So yes, absolutely. And that's why I say it is a book not only for the teachers, the trainers, the educators, but also for learners. And it's that discovery, again, we come back to it, it's the discovery of self. And that's the mystery in life, what's in each and every one of us. And it's for each and every one of us to unlock, nobody else. Just each and every one of us to find out and discover, what is it? How is it that I learn? What do I want to do in life? How do I want to bring it across? How can I impact or help others? And that's the journey of life. And yes, the book is for learners as well.
And this is the point of uniqueness of this book again. So, and I love that you provide lots of ideas that support them, that we are all unique, and that individual approach in education. I strongly agree with that. Strongly agree that it's so important. Not only about this, learn about these teaching techniques. What about the individual? So individual experience as well. Rachel, you're incredible, amazing, and I'm so grateful that I discovered you thanks to your book. Keep inspiring. I would love you to share more about friendly grammar.
Yes, brain-friendly grammar.
Yes, and maybe so you can highlight some more ideas for the next sessions, and
it
would be amazing to learn about you, because with all of your experience and your inspiring ideas, I feel so grateful again. And thanks everyone who joined us. These live chat and all the resources are going to stay on YouTube Live, so it's like live chat forever. I mean, and if you're watching us as a recorded version, thank you so much. And again, you can use your highlights, take screenshots, and post them on socials. We'll be very grateful to see what what you learned from this session. Any last words from you, Rachel? Would you like to?
Yes, I would just like to say thank you, Anna, for allowing me this space and time to share. And thank you for the beautiful questions.
I'm honored.
Yes, and also just to say, you know, I'm very open to talking about neurolanguage coaching. There's nothing mysterious in neurolanguage coaching. There's nothing sinister. There's nothing, and if anybody has a question about it, you know, I'm open to questions, and I'm open to sharing and giving information, and even giving pages and pages of neuroscientific evidence and research, not of a method, but of the research that I have used to base what we do on. And with pleasure, if anybody wants that, absolutely, it's available. So Anna, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks everyone who joined us. Don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, and stay tuned for more upcoming PD webinars. Again, sending mil gracias, Rachel.
Gracias.
You're incredible.
No, la verdad. Y perdona que el Arturo nos ha hecho la estrella hoy.
So, I just want to have a look. Yes. Oh, Jadranka, you miss a bit, but you can watch this recorded version. Jadranka, oh, yeah, I love you so much. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see your highlights. Yay. So again, Rachel, please don't leave the room. We're grabbing the final selfie. And again, thank you for your precious time. Bye, everyone, and see you next video.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.